Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something right now. There's power in silence. You don't have to tell the world what you're doing. You don't have to prove anything to anybody. Stop broadcasting every move you're planning to make. Just get to work. Start climbing. Start grinding. Start becoming. And when it's time, when you've built it, when you've earned it, success will speak louder than anything you could have ever posted, said, or shared. Self-improvement is a private journey, not a public performance. In today's world, people are obsessed with sharing everything they do, their plans, their struggles, even their dreams. Social media has created this illusion that progress is only real if it's witnessed by others. But the truth is, the most powerful transformations happen when no one's watching. The late nights, the early mornings, the quiet decisions to do better. That's where real change is born. You don't need an audience to grow. In fact, sometimes an audience slows you down, distracts you, or even plants seeds of doubt. When you're constantly trying to prove something to others, you lose sight of what really matters, becoming better than the person you were yesterday. Real improvement is internal. It's not flashy, it's not loud, and it sure isn't always pretty. It's uncomfortable, it's lonely, and it requires you to face parts of yourself that you might not want to look at. You start to realize that the only competition that matters is the one between who you are and who you're trying to become. And that battle doesn't need a stage. When you take your eyes off of the need for validation, you begin to move differently. You no longer feel the urge to broadcast every workout, every decision, every late night grind. You're not doing it for likes or applause. You're doing it because you know what's at stake. You're doing it because the person you want to be is worth the quiet struggle. It becomes a sacred process. You start making changes because they align with your vision, not because they look impressive to others. You begin to appreciate the beauty of subtle progress, the small wins that only you notice, the discipline to say no when it's hard, the courage to show up even when you feel like quitting, the quiet confidence that comes from keeping promises to yourself. These are the things that build unshakable self-worth. And you don't need to post about them to prove they're real. People often mistake silence for inaction, but they have no idea what's happening behind the scenes. They don't see the internal battles you're winning. They don't see the mental shifts, the healing, the resilience being built brick by brick. They don't see the sacrifices, the discipline, the countless times you chose growth over comfort. And they don't have to. Because when you really grow, when you truly evolve, you walk differently. You carry yourself with a quiet power that needs no introduction. Your presence alone starts to speak volumes. That's the difference between those who talk about it and those who become it. There's something incredibly powerful about being underestimated. When people don't see your moves coming, they can't block you. They can't discourage you. They can't manipulate you into playing small. Moving in silence gives you control over your journey. Gives you space to fail, to learn, to adjust without judgment. It protects your energy. It keeps your focus where it belongs, on the process, not the perception. And it helps you stay grounded. Because when your progress isn't dependent on praise, you become unstoppable. You stop looking for shortcuts and start building a foundation that can't be shaken. You begin to understand that the only person you owe proof to is yourself. And that kind of mindset is dangerous in the best way. It breeds a quiet kind of confidence. One that doesn't need to shout because it already knows what it's capable of. One that keeps building, keeps improving, keeps moving forward without making noise. Discipline in silence leads to results that speak loudly. When you decide to commit to something meaningful, Whether it's a personal goal, a dream, or a lifestyle change, it's discipline that carries you through, not motivation. Motivation comes and goes. It's fleeting. Some days you feel it, some days you don't. But discipline is what keeps you consistent when the excitement fades. And the kind of discipline that truly transforms you doesn't demand attention. It thrives in silence. It's in the quiet choices that you make each day, waking up early when no one is watching, putting in the extra hours when everyone else has called it a day, pushing yourself when it would be easy to quit. Those quiet sacrifices build strength, they build habits, they build character, and eventually they build results that speak louder than any words ever could. People want the outcome, but not the process. They want the reward, but not the silence that comes with preparation. Discipline is not glamorous. It's repetitive. It's uncomfortable. It forces you to delay gratification. It requires you to say no to what's easy so you can say yes to what's necessary. Most people avoid that kind of consistency because there's no instant praise in it. But the truth is, the loudest achievements are built in the quietest season. When you commit to self-discipline, you're building something solid, something real. You don't need to convince anyone of your progress. You just keep showing up. You stay focused. You don't flinch when things get tough because you know that every day you stay disciplined, you get one step closer to the life you want. There's a certain peace that comes from not having to prove anything to anyone. When you work in silence, you're not driven by opinions, expectations, or approval. You're driven by purpose. You're guided by a vision that's bigger than temporary praise. And because of that, you stop needing applause. You start building a life that earns respect. It's not the loud ones who create real impact. It's the ones who master the quiet grind. They're the ones who surprise everyone, not because they talked about what they were doing, but because they let their success show what they've been doing all along. In silence, you gain clarity. You see your weaknesses without distraction. You face your habits honestly. You learn to listen to yourself. That self-awareness feeds your discipline. It helps you improve without needing to compare your journey to anyone else's. You stop chasing perfection and start chasing growth. And the more you grow in private, the more confident you become in public. Not because you're trying to impress, but because you've already impressed yourself. That's the true reward of silent discipline. You stop needing noise to validate your worth, your work, your progress, your mindset. They begin to shine through everything you do without announcements, without declarations, just quiet excellence being developed day by day. Success doesn't need to be announced. It reveals itself. In a world where people rush to share every small win, true success often moves in silence. It doesn't need a spotlight or a stage because it carries its own light. When someone has truly accomplished something meaningful, you can feel it in how they carry themselves. You can see it in the life they've built, not in the words they use. Real success has a presence. It shows up in the results, in the discipline, in the calm confidence of someone who knows exactly what they work for. You don't have to tell people you're winning when your actions already make it obvious. That's the beauty of letting success speak for itself. It does the talking and it never lies. A lot of people waste time trying to convince others of their greatness before they've done the work. They talk about their goals, their grind, their hustle, but talk is cheap. It's easy to say you're going to succeed. It's easy to create a performance that looks like progress. What's hard is putting in the work every single day without asking for recognition. What's hard is staying focused when nobody's clapping. The ones who understand this don't care about announcing every step. They're too busy taking the next one. They know that real growth takes time. It takes patience. It takes silence. Because When you're really in the zone, you're not thinking about validation. You're thinking about improvement. You're thinking about the next level. You're thinking about staying consistent long enough that you become undeniable. The world will eventually notice what you've built. It may take time, but results can't be hidden. They always find their way to the surface. People may not understand your journey at first. They may even doubt you, question you, or overlook you. But if you stay locked in and keep building, success will arrive and speak for you in ways you never could. It will show up in the way you solve problems. It will show up in the way you influence others. It will show up in the opportunities that find you, not because you chased them, but because you became the kind of person who attracts them. There's a quiet power in letting your results do the talking. You begin to value progress over attention. You start to measure your worth not by how many people are watching, but by how many lives you're improving, starting with your own. That mindset creates freedom. You're no longer performing, you're just becoming. You're just executing. And over time, that execution stacks up into a legacy, one that doesn't require explanation because the evidence is everywhere. It's in the lifestyle, the discipline, the peace you carry, and the respect you command without ever asking for. That's what happens when you let success speak. Talking about your goals is easy, but execution requires focus and solitude. Anyone can say they're going to be successful. Anyone can stand in front of a crowd or post online about the dreams they want to chase, but the difference between a dreamer and a doer is found in the quiet space where action happens. That space isn't filled with applause, attention, or noise. It's filled with sacrifice, repetition, and work that nobody sees. The more you talk about your plans, the more you waste the energy that can be used to actually bring them to life. Execution doesn't need an audience. It needs discipline, time, and a commitment to showing up, especially on the days when motivation is nowhere to be found. Focus is the fuel for execution. It's what allows you to tune out distractions and zero in on what matters most. But focus requires solitude. You can't concentrate when you're surrounded by noise. Noise from people's opinions, noise from unnecessary conversations, noise from your own need to be seen or validated. When you step away from all that, when you give yourself permission to go silent and grind, that's when your actions begin to align with your purpose. You stop thinking about how you look and start focusing on what you're building. You begin to measure your days not by how much you talked about doing something, but by what you actually accomplished. And that mindset begins to separate you from the crowd. When you constantly share your goals, two things can happen. First, people will project their doubts onto you, even if they don't mean to. Their fears, their failures, and their limited thinking can seep into your belief system. Second, your brain starts to get a false sense of achievement just by talking. You feel like you've made progress just because you've announced your plans, but nothing real has happened yet. You haven't made the calls, put in the hours, or taken the hits that come with execution. And so you get stuck in a loop of saying instead of doing. The people who really win in life are the ones who stop announcing and start building. They don't feel the need to prove anything. They're not trying to impress anyone. They're locked in, working when others are talking, moving when others are stalling. Execution is quiet. It's not exciting most of the time. It's doing the same things over and over, improving little by little. It's facing failure, making adjustments, and going again. It's choosing to be uncomfortable now so you can be proud later. It's learning to be okay with not being seen because you know you're creating something that eventually no one will be able to ignore. That's the difference between noise and result. The world doesn't need more talkers. It needs more finishers. People who say less but do more. People who are more committed to the outcome than the announcement. Because when you commit to execution with focus and solitude, the results always arrive. and they speak far louder than words ever could. Growth comes when no one is watching. Early mornings, late nights, consistency. The most important development in your life won't happen when the cameras are on or when the crowd is cheering. It will happen in those moments when you're alone, when it's dark outside, when the world is asleep and you're still pushing forward. Real growth isn't glamorous. It doesn't post selfies or ask for recognition. It happens in the shadows, in the quiet hours, in the repetition of tasks that seem small but build something massive over time. The early mornings when you choose discipline over sleep, the late nights when you review your progress instead of wasting time, those are the decisions that stack up into transformation. And nobody needs to see it. You need to feel it. Because growth is personal. It's internal. It starts in the mind, shows up in your habits, and eventually takes over your life in the form of results that can't be denied. The people who evolve the most are the ones who don't wait for motivation to strike. They create momentum through consistency. They do the work regardless of how they feel. They show up for themselves even when the payoff isn't immediate. And in those quiet moments, when there's no spotlight, no praise, no acknowledgement, they become stronger, sharper, more disciplined. Growth loves isolation. Not because isolation is easy, but because it removes the distractions that usually pull you away from your goals. When no one's watching, you start to move with honesty. You no longer perform for approval, you perform for progress. That's where real breakthroughs happen. Not in the moment you share something online, but in the moment you decide to keep going when quitting would be easier. Success has always been built in silence. The athlete training before dawn, the writer editing a draft at midnight, the entrepreneur working in the background while everyone else is celebrating. These are the people who understand that consistency without attention is the key. The early mornings are hard. The late nights test your commitment. But when you make those moments a habit, you begin to separate yourself from the average, because most people won't do what's uncomfortable consistently. They'll start strong and fade. They'll work when it's fun, not when it's lonely. But the few who keep showing up, no matter the hour, no matter the struggle, those are the ones who win. Every time you show up in the dark, you're planting seeds. You might not see the results right away, but growth is happening slowly, silently, powerfully. Your character is being built. Your mindset is being sharpened. Your future is being shaped. The world won't notice at first, but one day they will. They'll wonder how you did it, where it came from, why you seem so far ahead. And they won't realize that it all came from the hours they never saw. The moments you gave everything when you had every reason to give up. That's what growth looks like. Quiet, persistent, relentless. True confidence is working in silence while knowing you're building something unstoppable. Confidence isn't about talking louder than everyone else or making sure people notice you. It's about knowing deep down that your work, your dedication, and your focus are guiding you towards something great, even if no one else sees it yet. When you have real confidence, you don't need to announce every move. You don't need constant applause. You don't need permission to chase greatness. You just put your head down and move because you understand exactly what you're doing and why it matters. You trust the process, even when the results are still invisible. You don't worry about timelines, and you don't panic when others seem ahead, because you know what you're building can't be rushed or compared. Working in silence requires strength. It takes a level of self-belief that doesn't need daily validation to survive. You wake up and go to work not because someone is watching, but because you made a promise to yourself. And that promise matters more than approval. You don't seek shortcuts or gimmicks. You're focused on building something real, something solid. And every day, while others are performing or posting for attention, you're stacking brick after brick, strengthening your foundation. That's where true confidence lives, not in the noise, but in the steady, silent work of someone who knows what they're capable of. There's power in not needing to explain yourself. When you're working towards something great, you will be misunderstood. People might think you're quiet because you're uncertain. They might think you're distant because you're distracted. But what they don't realize is that your silence is discipline. Your distance is focus. You're not lost, you're locked in. You're doing the kind of work that can't be shared in a highlight reel. And while others chase quick wins, you're playing the long game. That kind of mindset can't be shaken. It's not fragile. It's not tied to anyone else's opinion. It's yours. And it's earned through the hours, the effort, and the consistency nobody else is willing to put in. Confidence built in silence can't be fake. You can't pretend to be something you're not when the results eventually speak. That's why it's so important to stay humble during the process. Keep learning, keep adjusting, keep refining your craft. Don't worry about recognition. That will come. What matters now is that you trust your path. Trust that what you're building will one day open doors no one else saw coming. And when it does, you won't have to say a word. Your confidence will already be written in your results, in your resilience, and in the way you carry yourself through every challenge. People will wonder how you became so grounded, so certain, so unstoppable. And they'll never realize it was the silent seasons, the quiet hours, the lonely work, the invisible progress that gave you the confidence to walk into any room knowing exactly who you are and what you've built. You know, there comes a moment in everyone's life when you finally stop living for other people's expectations and start living for your own purpose. That moment right there is when life truly begins. See, too many of us spend years, sometimes decades, trying to fit in, trying to please people who don't even know what they want for themselves. We wear masks, we play roles, and we try to be what others think we should be. But let me tell you something, you will never find peace, you will never find joy, and you will never find real success until you find yourself. Life begins when you stop living for others and start living for your purpose. That's the truth most people never understand until much later in life. We grow up being told what's right, what's wrong, what success looks like, and how to fit into a mold that was never shaped for us in the first place. From childhood, we're conditioned to please others. Our parents, our teachers, our friends, even society. We chase approval like it's oxygen, and we build our lives on what we think will make other people happy. But in doing that, we forget ourselves. We lose the sound of our own voice, the beat of our own heart, and the dream that once made us feel alive. Living for others is like walking in shoes that don't fit. They might look good to someone else, but they hurt with every step you take. The truth is, you can't please everyone. No matter what you do, there will always be someone who thinks you're not enough. You could give them your best effort, your time, your energy, and they'd still find a reason to doubt you. So why keep giving your power away? The moment you stop living for others and start living for your own purpose, that's the moment freedom begins. That's when you take control of your life and decide that your happiness, your peace, and your dreams matter more than anyone's opinion. You start realizing that you weren't born to be a copy. You were born to be an original. Living for your purpose doesn't mean ignore everyone else or live selfishly. It means you finally start honoring who you are. It means waking up each day with intention, doing what fuels your soul instead of what drains it. It means setting boundaries, and saying no to things that no longer serve you. Purpose isn't about fame or money. It's about meaning. It's about knowing that what you do, what you give, and how you live reflect the truth of who you are. When you're walking in your purpose, there's a glow about you that can't be faked. People can feel it. You start to attract the right energy, the right people, and the right opportunities because you're aligned with what's real. When you live for others, your life feels like a constant performance. You're always worried about being judged, always editing yourself to fit in. That kind of living wears you out. But when you start living for your purpose, the pressure disappears. You stop performing and start being. You no longer need applause to feel valuable. You no longer need permission to move forward. You understand that your worth was never tied to someone else's acceptance. It was always within you. Purpose gives you direction. It gives you strength when things fall apart and hope when life gets heavy. Many people spend their entire lives chasing validation, never realizing that the person they're trying so hard to impress doesn't even hold the power to define their happiness. You hold that power. You get to decide who you want to be, what dreams you want to chase, and how you want to spend your time on this earth. Life is short, and living for others only makes it shorter. But when you live for your purpose, you start making every moment count. You find joy in the small things, you appreciate your journey, and you learn to love yourself for who you are, not for what people want you to be. There's something beautiful that happens when you choose yourself. You start to breathe differently, think differently, and walk differently. The world might not understand it at first, but that's okay. They don't need to understand. You didn't come here to be understood. You came here to live your truth. So stop hiding behind other people's expectations. Stop letting fear of judgment hold you back. Your life begins the moment you stop apologizing for who you are and start embracing the person you were created to be. That's when real happiness begins. That's when peace becomes your home. And that's when you finally start living, not just existing. Finding yourself requires deep self-reflection and courage. It's not a simple thing to look in the mirror and ask, who am I really? Because most people spend their lives avoiding that question. It's easy to get lost in the noise of the world. What people say, what social media shows, what society expects. But real growth begins when you dare to look within. Self-reflection forces you to face the truth about yourself, not the version you present to others. It makes you see the fears you've buried, the pain you've ignored, and the dreams you've set aside. It's uncomfortable, it's raw, but it's necessary if you ever want to live a life that's true to who you are. Without reflection, you move through life blindly, repeating the same mistakes and wondering why you feel empty. Reflection is the key that unlocks the door to self-awareness, and once that door opens, you can never go back to pretending you don't see the truth. Courage is what carries you through that process. It takes real bravery to admit when you're lost, to acknowledge the life you've built might not be the one you truly want. It's scary to let go of what's familiar, even when it's holding you back. But finding yourself means stepping into the unknown, trusting that there's something greater waiting for you on the other side of fear. Courage doesn't mean you don't feel afraid. It means you move forward in spite of it. Every time you choose to be honest with yourself, every time you decide to confront what hurts instead of hiding from it, you grow stronger. You start building a relationship with yourself that's based on truth, not illusion. Self-reflection is about slowing down and listening to the quiet voice inside you, the one that gets drowned out by the world's chaos. It's about taking time to understand your emotions, your habits, and your motivations. Why do you react the way you do? Why do certain things make you angry or sad or fulfilled? When you begin to understand those answers, you gain power over your life. You stop being controlled by circumstances and start taking responsibility for your choices. You stop blaming others for your unhappiness and start realizing that the change you want begins within you. That awareness transforms everything. It changes how you see yourself, how you see others, and how you move through the world. But reflection alone isn't enough. You have to be brave enough to act on what you discover. Maybe you realize that your job isn't fulfilling you, that your circle doesn't support your growth, or that you've been living in fear instead of faith. Knowing that truth is one thing, but having the courage to make changes is another. Courage is the bridge between understanding yourself and becoming your best self. It's what allows you to walk away from what no longer fits and move toward what truly aligns with your soul. Most people stop at awareness because change feels too risky. Of the ones who dare to take action, the ones who trust that their inner voice is guiding them in the right direction, those are the ones who find freedom. Finding yourself doesn't happen overnight. It's a lifelong journey, and there will be moments of doubt, confusion, and loneliness. But with every step, you'll start to see pieces of yourself you didn't know existed. You'll discover strengths hidden beneath your fears and dreams, buried under your doubts. You'll begin to love yourself, not for who you think you should be, but for who you truly are. That's where reflection and courage give you the power to live authentically. And once you've tasted that kind of honesty, you'll never settle for less again. The world might try to shape you, but when you know yourself deeply and have the courage to stay true to that person, no force on earth can break you. Comparison kills self-discovery. Focus on your own journey. One of the greatest mistakes we make in life is measuring our worth against someone else's progress. We look at what others have, their success, their relationships, their lifestyle, and we start to question ourselves. We start to think we're behind, that we're not doing enough, or that something is wrong with us. But comparison is a thief. It steals your joy, your peace, and your focus. The truth is, everyone is running their own race. You can't compare your chapter 2 to someone else's chapter 20. What's meant for them is meant for them, and what's meant for you will always find you. When you spend your energy watching someone else's life, you lose sight of your own path, your own growth, and your own blessings. Every person on this planet is unique. You have your own story, your own timeline, and your own purpose. What looks like success for someone else might not even bring you happiness. Yet, we live in a world that constantly encourages competition. Social media, in particular, has made comparison an everyday habit. You scroll through pictures, videos, and posts, and before you know it, you start to feel inadequate. You start questioning your progress because you're seeing everyone's highlight reel while living through your behind-the-scenes moments. But nobody posts their struggles, their failures, or the nights they cried themselves to sleep. Everyone is fighting battles you can't see. So comparing yourself to that illusion is not only unfair, it's self-destructive. When you focus on your own journey, something powerful happens. You begin to appreciate how far you've come instead of criticizing how far you have to go. You stop seeking validation from others and start finding confidence within yourself. You realize that growth isn't about speed, it's about direction. It doesn't matter how long it takes, as long as you keep moving forward. The truth is, some people may rise faster than you, and that's okay. You might face obstacles they never did, and that's okay too. Your challenges are shaping you for the kind of success only you are meant to have. Every setback, every delay, every disappointment is preparing you for your moment. Comparison makes you forget your blessings. It blinds you to everything you've already accomplished. You can't celebrate your wins when you're too busy counting someone else's. Gratitude is the antidote to comparison. When you take time to be thankful for what you have, you begin to see how much you've already grown. You realize that even small progress is still progress. You start finding joy in your journey instead of frustration in someone else's timeline. Gratitude shifts your focus from what's missing to what's meaningful. And when your heart is full of appreciation, there's no room for envy. Focusing on your own journey doesn't mean you ignore others or refuse to be inspired. It means you learn from others without losing yourself. You can admire someone's success without doubting your own potential. You can cheer for someone else's victory while still believing your time will come. Life isn't a competition, it's a personal mission. The goal isn't to be better than someone else. It's to be better than you were yesterday. The only person you should compare yourself to is the person you used to be. That's how you measure true growth. When you stop comparing, you free yourself. You stop trying to prove something to the world and start living for what feels right to you. You stop chasing validation and start chasing purpose. You start making choices that align with your values, your dreams, and your peace. You become more confident, more grounded, and more fulfilled. The world starts to look different because you're no longer seeing it through the lens of comparison. You're seeing it through the lens of authenticity. That's where true happiness begins. Because when you focus on your own journey, you stop worrying about where everyone else is going and start realizing that you're exactly where you're supposed to be. The journey to self-awareness costs comfort, but brings peace and clarity. Most people want growth, but very few are willing to face what growth requires. Self-awareness isn't easy because it demands that you look deeply at yourself, the good, the bad, and everything in between. It means confronting truths you may not want to admit, acknowledging mistakes you've made, and recognizing patterns that have held you back. It's a process that shakes the very foundation of your comfort zone. You'll find yourself questioning old beliefs, distancing from familiar people, and walking paths that feel uncertain. But that's the price of awakening. Growth and comfort cannot coexist. The very moment you decide to become self-aware, life will begin to challenge you to step out of everything that no longer serves your higher purpose. Comfort zones are dangerous because they disguise themselves as peace. You think you're fine because nothing feels wrong, but in reality, you're stuck. You're not growing, you're not evolving, and you're not discovering your potential. The truth is, comfort can be a trap. It keeps you in the same patterns, the same habits, and the same environment, even when they're slowly draining your spirit. Self-awareness begins when you start asking yourself, am I truly happy here? Or am I just used to this? That single question has the power to change your life. Because when you start questioning your comfort, you begin the process of transformation. As you grow more self-aware, you start to see the world differently. You recognize how much of your life was influenced by fear, ego, or other people's expectations. You begin to notice your triggers, your reactions, and your emotional patterns. You realize that not everything that feels good is good for you, and not everything that feels painful is bad for you. Sometimes discomfort is exactly what you need to break free from limitations. It's through the uncomfortable moments, the heartbreaks, the failures, the losses that you truly meet yourself. Pain has a way of stripping away illusions. It reveals what's real and what's fake, what's worth keeping, and what needs to go. As uncomfortable as it is, self-awareness brings clarity. It's like turning on a light in a dark room. Suddenly, you can see what's been there all along, your strengths, your weaknesses, your desires, and your fears. That kind of clarity is powerful because it gives you control over your life. You stop blaming the world for your problems and start taking responsibility for your choices. You stop chasing temporary highs and start pursuing lasting fulfillment. You begin to live with intention instead of drifting through life aimlessly. That's when peace begins to take root. Not because everything around you becomes perfect, but because everything within you becomes balanced. Peace doesn't come from avoiding conflict. It comes from understanding yourself well enough to face it calmly. When you're self-aware, you stop reacting to life and start responding to it. You learn how to protect your energy, how to let go of what no longer fits, and how to love yourself without conditions. You stop needing approval because you've made peace with who you are. That peace is not fragile. It's strong, unshakable, and deeply grounding. It allows you to navigate life with wisdom and grace, even when everything around you feels chaotic. So yes, self-awareness costs you your comfort. It asks you to leave behind what's familiar, even when it feels safe. It may distance you from people who once understood you, but it will bring you closer to your truth. And that truth, once you embrace it, becomes your greatest source of peace. Because there's no greater freedom than knowing who you are, no greater clarity than understanding your purpose, and no greater joy than living in alignment with your soul. Once you taste that kind of peace, you'll never want to go back to the comfort that kept you asleep. Alignment with your true self attracts blessings and direction. Life starts to flow differently when you stop forcing things that aren't meant for you and begin aligning yourself with who you truly are. Most people spend their lives chasing success, love, or happiness without realizing that what they're really chasing is alignment. When your thoughts, actions, and values move in the same direction, you attract what's right for you instead of constantly fighting for what isn't. Alignment is not about perfection, it's about authenticity. It's about being honest with yourself about what you want, what you need, and who you are. When you stop pretending and start living in truth, the universe or God begins to move in ways that support you. Doors start opening that you didn't even know existed because you're finally walking in harmony with your purpose. The reason so many people feel lost or stuck is because they're living out of alignment. They're working jobs that drain them, staying in relationships that break them, and holding on habits that limit them. Deep down, their spirit knows something is wrong, but they silence that voice with distraction and routine. But no matter how far you run, your soul will always call you back to your truth. You'll feel that tug inside you, the one that whispers, "You're meant for more." That's alignment trying to guide you back home. When you start listening to that voice and making choices that honor your spirit, you begin to experience a kind of peace and clarity that nothing else can give. Alignment requires honesty and courage. You have to be willing to admit when something no longer feels right, even if it once did. You have to let go of people, places, and plans that no longer fit the person you're becoming. That's not easy, because alignment often requires separation. You can't step into your purpose while clinging to things that pull you away from it. Sometimes God will close doors not because He's punishing you, but because He's protecting you from misalignment. It's His way of saying, that's not your path anymore. And when you start trusting that process, you'll see that every ending was really a new beginning designed to move you closer to who you were always meant to be. When you're aligned with your true self, you start making decisions that come from wisdom instead of fear. You stop chasing what looks good and start pursuing what feels right. You no longer need to force opportunities because the right ones naturally find you. You attract people who resonate with your energy, situations that help you grow, and moments that confirm you're on the right track. Life doesn't become easier, but it becomes clearer. You stop feeling lost because you finally know where you're going. And even when challenges come, you face them with faith instead of frustration because you trust that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. Alignment also brings blessings that are far beyond material success. It brings inner peace, self-respect, and confidence. You start to see your life as a reflection of your inner world. When you are centered, life flows. When you are confused, life feels chaotic. That's why alignment is so powerful. It teaches you that peace is not something you find outside of yourself. It's something you create by being true to who you are. Every time you make a decision that honors your truth, you move closer to the life you were destined to live. There's a certain magic that comes with alignment, a rhythm that feels divine. Things begin to connect, opportunities appear at the right time, and people cross your path just when you need them. It's not luck, it's alignment. It's life responding to the energy you give off when you are living authentically. You no longer chase, you attract. You no longer struggle to be understood. You simply exist in truth. And that truth draws everything meant for you closer, effortlessly. When you live in alignment with your true self, you don't just find blessings, you become one. True life starts when you meet, accept, and believe in the real you. Most people go through life trying to become someone they think the world will love. They chase approval, validation, and perfection, but deep down, they feel a constant emptiness because they've never truly met themselves. They know their name, their job, and their roles, but not their soul. The truth is, you can't live a full life while pretending to be half of yourself. At some point, you have to stop running from who you are and take a deep look at the person within. That's where real freedom begins. Life doesn't truly start when everything looks perfect on the outside. It starts when you're at peace with who you are on the inside. Meeting yourself means seeing the truth, the parts you're proud of, and the parts you've tried to hide. It's recognizing your strengths, your flaws, your fears, and your dreams without judgment. Many people avoid this because they're afraid of what they might find. But ignoring yourself doesn't make the truth disappear. It only keeps you trapped in confusion. When you finally face yourself, when you allow yourself to feel, to question, to understand, you start connecting with the person you were meant to be all along. You begin to realize that your worth doesn't depend on what others think of you. It comes from within. You are already enough, just as you are, but you have to believe it for it to change your life. Acceptance is the next step. It's one thing to know who you are, but it's another to fully accept it. Acceptance doesn't mean you stop growing or improving. It means you stop fighting yourself. It's making peace with your past, forgiving your mistakes, and embracing your imperfections. You stop trying to fix everything that isn't broken and start appreciating the beauty in your uniqueness. You understand that everything you've been through, the pain, the failures, the disappointments, wasn't meant to destroy you, but to shape you. Acceptance brings calm to the chaos inside. It teaches you that self-love isn't about ego. It's about grace. It's about giving yourself permission to be human, to be flawed, to fall, to rise again, and to still be worthy of love. Believing in yourself is where transformation happens. When you start believing in your abilities, your vision, and your worth, life opens up in ways you never imagined. You begin to take risks, to dream bigger, and to speak up for yourself. You stop settling for less because you finally understand that you deserve more. Belief is the foundation of every great story. It's what turns possibility into reality. Without belief, your potential stays locked inside you. With it, there's no limit to what you can achieve. When you truly believe in yourself, you no longer wait for others to validate your dreams. You stop asking for permission to be great, and you start walking boldly in your purpose. Meeting, accepting, and believing in yourself is not a one-time event. It's a lifelong journey. There will be days when you doubt yourself, when you fall back into old habits, or when fear whispers that you're not enough. But every time you choose to rise above that voice, You strengthen your connection with who you are. You learn to stand tall in your truth, even when the world doesn't understand it. You learn to love yourself, not because of what you've achieved, but because of who you've become in the process. When you meet yourself, you find awareness. When you accept yourself, you find peace. And when you believe in yourself, you find power. That's when life truly begins. Not when you become someone new, but when you finally embrace the person you've always been. From that moment on, you stop surviving and start living. You stop pretending and start shining, because the greatest gift you can give to the world is not perfection, it's authenticity. And the moment you believe in that truth, your entire life changes. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something today that most people don't want to hear, but everybody needs to understand. Being attractive is not about your face, your money, or how loud you talk. And mental strength is not about pretending you don't feel pain. Real attractiveness and real strength start on the inside. They show up in your habits, in what you do every single day when nobody is watching. See, the world is full of talented people who never make it because they don't have discipline. Discipline is doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like it. When you can wake up on time, handle your responsibilities, and stay consistent, something powerful happens. You begin to trust yourself. And when you trust yourself, other people feel it. Confidence grows naturally when you keep promises to yourself. And confidence is attractive without you saying a single word. Now let me talk to you about emotional control. Everybody gets angry. Everybody gets frustrated. When not everybody lets their emotions run the show. When you learn how to pause, how to breathe, how to respond instead of react, you separate yourself from the crowd. People who can stay calm in chaos are rare. They don't need to argue loudly, prove themselves, or explain their worth. Their presence alone commands respect. That calm strength draws people toward you because it feels safe, it feels mature, and it feels powerful. Another habit that will change your life is keeping your word. If you say you're going to do something, do it. If you say you'll be somewhere, show up. Your word is your bond. When people know they can count on you, you become valuable. And let me tell you something, value is attractive. Mentally strong people don't make excuses every time things get hard. They adjust, they adapt, and they finish what they start. That kind of reliability builds a reputation money can't buy. You also have to commit to growing every day. Read something, learn something, improve something about yourself. The strongest minds are always hungry to get better. When you stop learning, you start shrinking. Growth keeps your mind sharp and your spirit alive. People are naturally drawn to someone who is evolving, someone who isn't stuck complaining about yesterday, but preparing for tomorrow. Now listen to me closely. Mentally strong people have boundaries. They don't let everyone drain them, disrespect them, or waste their time. Boundaries are not rude. Boundaries are necessary. When you respect your own limits, others are forced to respect you too. Saying no when needed protects your peace, and peace is priceless. When you're at peace with who you are, you don't chase approval, and that makes you incredibly attractive. And finally, gratitude and faith. Life will knock you down. That's guaranteed. But gratitude keeps your heart right, and faith keeps your mind steady. When you can thank God even during hard seasons, you develop a strength that can't be shaken. You stop breaking under pressure and start bending without snapping. People feel that strength, they feel that hope, and they want to be around it. Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you about something that sounds simple, but it's one of the hardest things on this planet to master, and that is self-discipline. See, everybody wants confidence. Everybody wants to feel strong. Everybody wants to walk into a room and feel like they belong there. But what most people don't understand is this: confidence is not something you're born with, it's something you build. And the bricks you use to build it are called discipline. Self-discipline is the ability to do what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. It's getting up when your bed feels too comfortable. It's saying no to distractions when your goals need a yes. It's choosing the long-term reward over the short-term pleasure. And every single time you do that, something happens inside you. You don't see it right away, but your spirit takes notes. Your mind remembers. You start to realize, I can trust myself. And once you trust yourself, confidence starts showing up without you forcing it. A lot of people walk around loud, flashy, trying to prove something. That's not confidence. That's insecurity wearing a costume. Real confidence is quiet. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need approval. It comes from knowing that when things get hard, you won't quit on yourself. That's what discipline gives you. When you show up for yourself day after day, even when nobody is clapping, you develop an inner power that can't be shaken by opinions or criticism. Let me tell you something real. Life does not get easier. Responsibilities increase. Pressure increases. Expectations increase. The only thing that makes you stronger is your ability to handle yourself. Mentally strong people don't wait for motivation. Motivation comes and goes. Discipline stays. Discipline is what keeps you moving when motivation disappears. And the more you practice it, the more confident you become in your ability to handle whatever life throws at you. Self-discipline also teaches you respect, not just for others, but for yourself. When you keep breaking promises to yourself, you slowly lose self-respect. You start doubting your own word. But when you say, I'm going to do this, and you actually do it, you begin to stand taller. You look people in the eye differently. Your walk changes. Your energy changes. People feel that before you ever open your mouth. And let me clear this up for you. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is self-love. It's saying, I care enough about my future to sacrifice my comfort today. That's power. That's maturity. That's strength. Weakness is doing what feels good right now and paying for it later. Strength is doing what's hard right now so your future can breathe easier. You don't need to hold your whole life overnight. Discipline grows in small choices. Make your bed. Be on time. Finish what you start. Control what you can control. These little wins stack up, and before you know it, you've built momentum. And momentum builds belief. Belief builds confidence. Confidence builds presence. That's why disciplined people don't beg for respect, they attract it. Ladies and gentlemen, the world will test you. It will tempt you to quit, to settle, to lower your standards. But when you develop self-discipline, you develop an inner power that doesn't rely on circumstances. You stop needing validation because you've already proven something to the most important person in your life, yourself. And when you reach that point, you don't just look strong. You are strong from the inside out. Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you about emotional control, because this right here is one of the clearest signs of real strength and real attractiveness. Everybody has emotions. You're supposed to feel things. But the difference between someone who is mentally strong and someone who is constantly struggling is who's in charge. Are you in control of your emotions, or are your emotions in control of you? See, when you react to everything, you give your power away. Every insult, every delay, every disappointment starts pushing your buttons, and before you know it, you're tired, angry, and frustrated all the time. Mentally strong people understand something very important. Not everything deserves a response. Sometimes silence is strength. Sometimes walking away is winning. When you can stay calm while others are losing control, you instantly rise above the situation. Let me tell you something, people are always watching how you handle pressure. They may not say it, but they're taking notes. When you stay composed during conflict, when you don't let anger control your mouth or your actions, people feel safe around you. And safety is attractive. Calm energy is attractive. A person who can regulate their emotions doesn't need to dominate conversations or raise their voice to be heard. Their presence alone carries weight. Now don't confuse emotional control with emotional suppression. Mentally strong people still feel pain, disappointment, and frustration. They just don't let those feelings dictate their behavior. They process their emotions privately, wisely, and with maturity. They don't explode in public and then regret it later. They pause, they think. And that pause can save relationships, opportunities, and reputations. Life will test you. Someone will disrespect you. Something won't go your way. Plans will fall apart. If every setback sends you into emotional chaos, life becomes exhausting. But when you learn to manage your reactions, you conserve energy, you stay focused, you make better decisions. Emotional control gives you clarity, and clarity gives you power. Let me be real with you. Anger feels strong in the moment, but it's actually a sign of lost control. Anyone can get angry. Anyone can lash out. It takes strength to remain steady. It takes confidence to say, I don't need to prove anything right now. When you stop reacting emotionally, you stop being predictable. And when people can't predict your reactions, they can't manipulate you. Emotionally controlled people also know how to listen. They don't interrupt. They don't get defensive over every comment. They absorb information, process it, and respond with intention. That makes them appear wise. And wisdom is attractive. People naturally respect those who can handle tough conversations without falling apart. Here's another truth. When you control your emotions, you control your environment. Your mood stops dictating the mood of your entire day. One bad moment doesn't ruin everything. One negative comment doesn't destroy your confidence. You stay centered. And when you stay centered, you move differently. You talk differently. You carry yourself differently. Ladies and gentlemen, the strongest people in the room are not the loudest ones. They are the calmest ones. Emotional control is not about being cold or distant. It's about being grounded. When you master your emotions, you stop being a prisoner to circumstances and start becoming the author of your own responses. And that kind of inner strength. People can feel it the moment you walk into the room. Ladies and gentlemen, let me speak to you about the power of keeping your word, because this habit right here separates the respected from the ignored, the trusted from the doubted. In a world full of talkers, the person who does they say they're going to do stands out without trying. Your word is not just sound coming out of your mouth. It is your signature. It tells people who you are long before they get to know you. A lot of people don't understand how damaging it is to constantly break promises, especially the small ones. Showing up late, not following through, saying, I'll do it tomorrow, and never doing it. Every time you do that, something breaks, and it's not just other people's trust, it's your own. You start questioning yourself. You start lowering your standards, and over time, you train yourself to believe that your words don't matter. Mentally strong people refuse to live like that. When you keep your word, you create reliability, and reliability creates respect. People know they can count on you. They don't have to remind you, and that kind of dependability is rare. Employers value it. Friends trust it. Partners feel secure around it. You become someone people want in their circle, because you bring certainty in an uncertain world. Let me tell you something real. Keeping your word is not about being perfect. It's about being honest. If you say yes when you really mean no, you're setting yourself up to fail. Mentally strong people choose their commitments carefully. They don't overpromise to impress people. They understate and overdeliver. They understand that protecting their word is more important than protecting their ego. There will be times when keeping your word costs you something. It may cost you comfort. It may cost you time. It may cost you convenience. But every time you honor your commitment, you deposit into your character, and character compounds. You don't see the results overnight, but one day you look around and realize people respect you without you demanding it. That respect didn't come from talking, it came from consistency. Attractive people don't beg to be taken seriously. They already are. Why? Because their actions line up with their words. When your behavior matches your promises, people feel safe trusting you. And trust is magnetic. People are drawn to those who are solid, those who don't change based on mood or circumstance. Keeping your word also builds inner strength. When you know you will follow through no matter what, fear starts losing its grip on you. You stop doubting yourself. You stop second guessing. You walk with a quiet confidence because you've proven something to yourself over and over again. That confidence is not loud, but it's powerful. Here's something else. When you are known as a person of your word, opportunities find you. People recommend you. Doors open for you when you're not even in the room. Not because you're the smartest or the most talented, but because you're dependable. Talent can get attention, but character keeps it. Ladies and gentlemen, the strongest promise you will ever keep is the one you make to yourself. When you say you're going to grow, change, or improve, and you actually do it, you transform your self-image. You start seeing yourself as someone who tries and start seeing yourself as someone who finishes. And once that happens, your presence changes. People don't just hear your words anymore. They believe them. Ik bedi 4K en out ON 600 woas gietje INTR AND and KHO. And ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you about the habit of continuous self-improvement, because this is where mental strength sharpens and true attractiveness matures. Too many people reach a certain point in life and decide they're done growing. They stop learning, stop listening, stop challenging themselves. And the moment that happens, they don't stay the same, they start declining. Mentally strong people understand that growth is not optional. If you're not moving forward, you're slowly moving backward. See, self-improvement is not about competing with anyone else. It's about competing with who you were yesterday. It's waking up every day asking yourself, how can I be a little better than I was before? That mindset alone changes everything. It keeps your mind sharp, your confidence grounded, and your purpose clear. People are naturally drawn to someone who is evolving, someone who isn't stuck complaining about the past, but focused on building the future. Let me tell you something real. The strongest minds are humble. They know they don't know everything. That humility opens the door to learning. When you read, when you listen, when you observe, you give your mind new tools. And the more tools you have, the better you handle life. Problems don't scare you as much because you've trained your brain to adapt. That adaptability is a sign of mental strength, and it's extremely attractive. Self-improvement also forces you to face yourself. You start recognizing your weaknesses, your habits, your blind spots. And instead of getting defensive, you get intentional. You stop blaming people. You stop making excuses. You take responsibility, and responsibility is power. When you accept that your growth is your job, you stop waiting for someone to save you and start building yourself. A lot of people want quick results. They want motivation without discipline, success without sacrifice, confidence without work. Mentally strong people understand that improvement is a process. It's small changes done consistently. Reading a few pages a day, learning a new skill, improving how you communicate, taking care of your body. These small decisions stack up, and over time they transform you. Let me say this clearly. Growth will make some people uncomfortable. When you improve, you outgrow certain conversations, certain habits, certain environments. And that's okay. Mentally strong people don't apologize for evolving. They understand the same to keep others comfortable is a slow form of self-betrayal. Growth may feel lonely at times, but it always leads to a stronger, clearer version of you. Self-improvement also builds resilience. When you're constantly learning, failure doesn't destroy you. You see it as feedback. You adjust and move forward. That mindset protects your mental health. You stop taking every setback personally and start seeing life as a classroom. And people respect those who can fall, learn, and rise wiser than before. Ladies and gentlemen, when you commit to improving yourself, your confidence becomes real, not fake confidence, not loud confidence. Real confidence rooted in effort. You don't need to brag because your growth speaks for itself. Your conversations get deeper. Your decisions get smarter. Your presence gets stronger. And without trying, you become someone people admire, not because you're perfect, but because you're committed to becoming better every single day. Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you about boundaries, because this habit right here will save your mind, your energy, and your future. A lot of people are tired, stressed, and emotionally drained, not because life is too hard, but because they let everybody have access to them. They say yes when they should say no. They tolerate disrespect to avoid conflict. And slowly, they give away pieces of themselves until there's nothing left. Mentally strong people understand something early in life. Not everyone deserves access to you. Your time is valuable. Your energy is limited. Your peace is priceless. Boundaries are not walls meant to shut people out. They are lines that protect what matters most. When you don't set boundaries, people will decide your limits for you, and trust me, they will always take more than you can afford to give. Let me clear something up. Setting boundaries does not make you selfish. It makes you responsible. Responsible for your mental health. Responsible for your growth. Responsible for your future. Weak people feel guilty for protecting themselves. Strong people understand that if they don't protect themselves, no one else will. You cannot pour into others if you're constantly empty. A lot of folks confuse kindness with tolerance. You can be kind and still say no. You can be respectful and still walk away. You can love people and still refuse to accept behavior that drains or disrespects you. Mentally strong people don't explain their boundaries over and over again. They state them once and let their actions enforce them. Here's the truth. When you start setting boundaries, some people will get uncomfortable. Not because you changed for the worse, but because they benefited from you having none. When you stop over-giving, over-explaining, and overextending, you reveal who truly respects you and who is only using your availability. That's not loss, that's clarity. Boundaries also teach people how to treat you. If you accept late replies, broken promises, and constant disrespect, you are silently telling people it's okay. But when you raise your standards, when you stop tolerating nonsense, your value becomes clear. You don't have to announce it. Your boundaries speak for you. Let me tell you something powerful. Saying no is a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. At first, it feels uncomfortable. You worry about disappointing people. You worry about being misunderstood. But over time, you realize something. Protecting your peace feels better than pleasing everyone. And once you experience that peace, you won't trade it for approval again. Mentally strong people also understand boundaries with themselves. They don't overwork to the point of burnout. They don't ignore rest. They don't stay in situations that drain their spirit. They check in with themselves and adjust. That self-awareness is strength. And people are attracted to those who know their limits and respect themselves enough to honor them. When you set boundaries, your confidence grows. You stop resenting people because you stop overgiving. You stop feeling used because you stop allowing it. Your relationships become healthier because they are built on mutual respect, not guilt or obligation. And respect, real respect, is incredibly attractive. Ladies and gentlemen, boundaries will cost you some people, but they will save you from losing yourself. When you protect your energy, your value becomes undeniable. You walk differently. You speak differently. You move with intention. And without trying to impress anyone, you become someone people respect, not because you're available to everyone, but because you are solid within yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you about gratitude and faith, because this habit right here is what keeps a person standing when life is doing everything it can to knock them down. You can have discipline, control your emotions, keep your word, improve yourself, and set boundaries, but without gratitude and faith, pressure will eventually wear you out. Mentally strong people are not strong because life is easy for them. They're strong because they've learned how to see blessings, even in difficult seasons. Gratitude changes the way your mind works. When you're grateful, you stop focusing on what you don't have and start appreciating what you do have. And that shift is powerful. It doesn't mean you're satisfied with where you are. It means you're thankful for how far you've come. People who lack gratitude are always angry, always complaining, always comparing. That kind of mindset weakens you. But when you wake up thankful, your problems don't disappear. They just stop controlling you. Let me tell you something real. Life is unfair sometimes. Good people struggle. Hard work doesn't always pay off immediately. And if you don't have faith, those moments will break you. Faith is believing that even when you don't understand what's happening, something greater is still working in your favor. It's trusting the process when the progress is invisible. That belief keeps your mind steady when everything around you feels uncertain. Gratitude also keeps you humble. When you recognize that everything didn't come from luck alone, you move differently. You treat people better. You stop feeling entitled. And humility is attractive. People are drawn to those who appreciate life instead of constantly demanding more from it. Gratitude makes your presence warm. Faith makes your presence strong. Mentally strong people don't deny pain. They feel it, but they don't live in it. They say, this hurts, but it's not the end. That mindset doesn't come from positivity quotes. It comes from faith. Faith allows you to endure seasons you don't like without becoming bitter. It teaches you patience. It teaches you trust. And patience under pressure is one of the greatest signs of strength there is. Here's something people don't talk about enough. Gratitude protects your mental health. When you're faithful, anxiety loses its grip. Fear gets quieter. You stop panicking about tomorrow because you're grounded in today. Gratitude slows your mind down. It reminds you that you've survived before, and you'll survive again. That awareness gives you calm confidence, and calm confidence is deeply attractive. Faith also helps you forgive. When you believe there's a bigger picture, you don't carry resentment as heavily. You let go faster. You heal quicker. You stop letting past hurt define your future. Mentally strong people don't stay stuck in what happened to them. They focus on who they're becoming. Faith gives you the courage to move forward, even when your heart is still healing. Let me say this clearly. Gratitude and faith don't make you weak or passive. They make you resilient. They allow you to keep going without losing yourself. They help you stay kind in a harsh world, hopeful in hard times, and steady under pressure. That kind of inner strength can't be faked, and it can't be bought. Ladies and gentlemen, when you walk with gratitude, you appreciate life. When you walk with faith, you trust life. And when you have both, you stop breaking under pressure and start rising through it. People feel that energy. They see it in how you handle loss, delay, and disappointment. Without trying to impress anyone, you become someone others admire, not because life favored you, but because you never lost your spirit while walking through it. Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you from the heart today, because 26 is not just another year coming on the calendar. It is a year that will expose who prepared and who only hoped. See, most people want a better future, but they are not willing to become a better version of themselves. You keep asking God for blessings, but God is asking you for growth. Before 2026 arrives, there are some things you must improve, not for applause, not for people, but for your own destiny. First of all, you got to improve the way you think. Your life will never rise above the level of your mindset. If you wake up every day expecting failure, talking negative, doubting yourself, then guess what? That's exactly what you're going to get. You cannot keep saying, I can, and expect your life to say, I can. Change the conversation you have with yourself. When you fix your mind, your life will start fixing itself. Next, you need to improve your discipline. Motivation is good, but motivation comes and goes. Discipline stays. Discipline is what gets you up when you don't feel like it. Discipline is doing what needs to be done even when nobody is watching. If you wait to feel ready, you'll be waiting forever. Successful people don't feel like it every day. They're just disciplined enough to do it anyway. You also need to improve your consistency. A lot of people start strong but finish weak. You get excited for 1 week, 2 weeks, and then you disappear. Dreams don't work like that. Small steps done every single day will take you further than big steps done once in a while. If you want 2026 to be different, stop quitting on yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something real today, something that can change the direction of your life if you truly hear it. Self-discipline is the foundation of every lasting success, and without it, talent will fail you, motivation will disappoint you, and dreams will remain nothing more than wishes. A lot of people want the results, but they don't want the responsibility that comes with those results. You cannot keep praying for a better life while refusing to do the work required to build it. Discipline is not about punishment. Discipline is about respect. Respect for your goals, your time, and your future. See, discipline is what separates those who talk from those who achieve. Everybody has a dream. Everybody has an idea. But very few people have the discipline to show up every single day, even when they are tired, even when they are discouraged, even when nothing seems to be working. You don't need to feel inspired to be disciplined. You just need to be committed. Commitment says, I will do this whether I feel like it or not. That's where real growth begins. Most people lose the battle in the small moments. They quit when it gets uncomfortable. They stop when it gets boring. They give up when results don't come fast enough. But discipline teaches you how to delay gratification. It teaches you how to say no to what feels good right now so you can say yes to what will feel great later. Every successful person you admire learned how to master this skill. They didn't always enjoy the process, but they respected it. Let me be honest with you. Discipline is hard. It requires sacrifice. It requires you to stop blaming people, situations, and circumstances. You can't keep saying, if things were different, I'd do better. Discipline says, even if things are not perfect, I'm still going to do my part. Life will never give you ideal conditions. If you're waiting for the perfect time, you'll wait forever. Discipline also means controlling your habits. Your habits are quietly shaping your future every single day. What you do consistently matters more than what you do occasionally. If you wake up late, waste time, avoid responsibility, and repeat that pattern, your life will reflect that. But if you start waking up with intention, managing your time, and doing the hard things first, your life will start to change in ways you never imagined. Discipline turns ordinary actions into extraordinary outcomes. A lot of people think discipline limits them, but that's not true. Discipline actually gives you freedom. When you are disciplined with your money, you experience financial freedom. When you are disciplined with your health, you experience physical freedom. When you are disciplined with your thoughts, you experience mental peace. Lack of discipline might feel easy in the moment, but it creates pain in the long run. Discipline might feel painful now, but it creates freedom later. You don't need to be perfect to be disciplined. You just need to be consistent. There will be days you mess up. There will be days you fall short. That doesn't mean you quit. Discipline is getting back on track quickly instead of staying stuck in regret. Stop being so hard on yourself for not being perfect and start being proud of yourself for not giving up. Let me tell you this, no one is coming to save you. Nobody is responsible for your growth but you. When you truly understand that, discipline becomes personal. You stop making excuses. You stop waiting for validation. You start doing what needs to be done because your future depends on it. Discipline is self-love in action. It's you saying, my future is too important to be ruined by my excuses. Ladies and gentlemen, if you master self-discipline, everything else starts to fall into place. Confidence grows. Focus improves. You stop chasing success, and success starts responding to you. Not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you about your mindset, because whether you realize it or not, the direction of your life is being controlled by the way you think. Not your circumstances, not your background, not the people around you, but your mindset. You see, life is not happening to you, it's responding to you. The thoughts you repeat, the beliefs you hold, and the expectations you carry are shaping your future every single day. Most people are defeated long before they ever try, and the reason is simple. They've already lost the battle in their mind. You can't live a positive life with a negative mindset. If you wake up every morning expecting things to go wrong, expecting failure, expecting disappointment, then your mind will find evidence to support that belief. Your mind is powerful like that. It doesn't argue with you, it agrees with you. Whatever you tell it consistently, it accepts as truth. A lot of people say they want success, but deep down they don't believe they deserve it. They doubt themselves. They compare their journey to others. They replay past mistakes over and over again. That kind of thinking will keep you stuck. You cannot move forward while constantly looking backward. Your past may explain you, but it should never define you. If you don't change the way you see yourself, you will never change the way you live. Let me tell you something important. Your mindset controls your reactions. Two people can face the same problem, and one grows from it while the other gives up. The difference is not the problem, it's the perspective. A strong mindset looks at obstacles and says, this is temporary. A weak mindset looks at the same obstacle and says, this is the end. Life will test you no matter who you are. The question is, how do you interpret those tests? You've got to stop speaking defeat over your life. Words are powerful. When you keep saying, I'm not smart enough, I'll never make it, you are programming your mind for failure. And then you wonder why nothing changes. Change your words, and you'll begin to change your world. Speak life into your situation, even when it doesn't look like it's working. Especially when it doesn't look like it's working. A winning mindset understands that growth takes time. Too many people quit because they expect instant results. They want progress without patience. But anything worth having requires endurance. Your mindset has to be strong enough to handle delay without quitting. Just because it hasn't happened, it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. Delay is not denial. Sometimes God's preparing you for what you prayed for. You also have to improve the way you handle criticism. With the wrong mindset, criticism will crush you. With the right mindset, it will teach you. Everybody who's ever done something meaningful has been talked about, doubted, and criticized. If you let people's opinions control you, you'll never be free. Learn to listen without absorbing everything. Not every opinion deserves space in your mind. Another thing about mindset is responsibility. A powerful mindset takes ownership. It stops blaming people, situations, and circumstances. It says, what can I do better? As long as you blame others, you give away your power. The moment you take responsibility, you take control. You may not be responsible for what happened to you, but you are responsible for what you do next. You've got to train your mind daily. Just like your body needs exercise, your mind needs discipline. Feed it positive information. Surround yourself with people who think bigger, not smaller. Protect your mind from negativity because negativity spreads fast. You can't listen to doubt all day and expect confidence to show up. Ladies and gentlemen, when your mindset changes, your decisions change. When your decisions change, your habits change. And when your habits change, your life changes. Everything begins in the mind. If you want a different future, you must first develop a stronger, healthier, and more focused way of thinking. Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you about consistency because this is where most people lose the fight. Not because they are not talented, not because they are not capable, but because they are not consistent. Everybody wants a breakthrough, but very few people are willing to do the same right thing over and over again when nobody is watching. Consistency is not exciting, it's not glamorous, and it doesn't get applause in the beginning, but it is the reason success eventually shows up. See, consistency is what turns average effort into extraordinary results. You don't need to do something huge once in a while. You need to do something small every single day. Most people overestimate what they can do in 1 week and underestimate what they can do in 1 year. They start fast, full of energy, full of passion, and then life happens. They get tired, distracted, discouraged, and they stop. And the moment they stop, progress stops with them. Let me tell you this clearly, talent will open a door, but consistency will keep it open. You can be gifted, smart, creative, and still fail if you are not consistent. On the other hand, you can be average, ordinary, and still win if you show up every day and put in the work. Consistency is not about being perfect. It's about being present. It's about showing up even when you don't feel like it. A lot of people confuse motivation with consistency. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings change. Some days you feel strong, some days you feel weak. Consistency is a decision. It says, no matter how I feel, I'm going to do what needs to be done. That's why relying on motivation alone will always disappoint you. When motivation fades, consistency is what carries you through. Consistency also requires patience. Results do not come on your timeline. They come on the timeline of effort. You might be doing the right things and still not see immediate progress. That doesn't mean it's not working. It means it's working beneath the surface. Just like a seed planted in the ground, nothing seems to be happening at first. But that doesn't mean growth has stopped. If you dig it up every day to check, you'll kill it. You have to trust the process. One of the biggest enemies of consistency is distraction. We live in a world full of noise. Social media, opinions, trends, and comparisons pull you in 100 different directions. Every time you get distracted, you break your rhythm. Successful people learn how to protect their focus. They understand a yes to everything means saying no to their goals. Consistency demands focus, and focus demands sacrifice. Another thing that stops people from being consistent is the fear of slow progress. People want fast results so they can feel validated. But consistency is about long-term vision. It's about doing the work even when nobody is praising you, even when nobody notices. You have to be willing to be unseen for a season so you can be undeniable later. That's the price. Let me also say consistency builds confidence. When you keep your promises to yourself, you start trusting yourself. Every small win adds up. Every day you don't quit, you get stronger mentally. Confidence is not built by waiting for success. It's built by showing up consistently even before success arrives. You're going to have off days. You're going to miss a step sometimes. That's not failure. Failure is quitting altogether. Consistency is not about never falling. It's about getting back up quickly and continuing forward. Stop letting one bad day turn into one bad week, one bad month, or one bad year. Let me be honest with you. Nobody is coming to push you every day. Nobody is going to remind you of your dreams every morning. That responsibility belongs to you. If you want a different life, you've got to be consistent with different actions. Excuses don't build futures, habits do. Ladies and gentlemen, consistency is the quiet power that changes lives. It's not loud, it's not flashy, but it never fails. If you commit to showing up every day, doing the right things even when it's hard, even when it's boring, success will have no choice but to respond. Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you about character, because character is who you are when nobody is watching, and that matters more than anything you will ever achieve. Success can put you in the spotlight, but character determines how long you stay there. A lot of people are chasing recognition, applause, and attention, but they are ignoring the inner work that actually sustains success. Without strong character, success doesn't elevate you, it exposes you. Character is not built in public moments, it is built in private decisions. It's built when you choose to do the right thing, even when it costs you something. It's built when no one would ever find out, but you still choose honesty over convenience. Too many people want the rewards of success without developing the responsibility that comes with it. Life doesn't work that way. What you tolerate in private will eventually show up in public. Let me be clear, character will take you further than talent ever could. Talent might get you noticed, but character gets you trusted. When people trust you, they give you opportunities. When they don't, doors close quietly. You don't lose opportunities loudly, you lose them slowly through small compromises. One lie, one shortcut, one excuse at a time. Character also shows up in how you treat people who can't do anything for you. The way you speak to others, the way you listen, the way you show respect, that's character. You can't claim to be successful if you're stepping on people along the way. Real success is not just about what you gain. It's about who you become. If your success costs you your integrity, you paid too much. One of the hardest tests of character is pressure. When things go wrong, when you're misunderstood, when life doesn't go your way, your true character comes out. Anybody can be kind when things are easy. Anybody can be patient when life is smooth. But character is revealed when you're tired, frustrated, and disappointed. How you respond in those moments matters more than you realize. Character also means accountability. It means owning your mistakes instead of hiding them. Strong people don't make excuses, they make adjustments. Weak character looks for someone to blame. Strong character looks in the mirror and asks, what can I do better? The moment you stop blaming others is the moment you start growing. Let me tell you something important. Character requires consistency too. You can't be honest today and dishonest tomorrow and expect respect to follow you. You can't be disciplined at work and careless in your personal life and expect balance. Character is who you are everywhere, not just when it's convenient. It's not about image, it's about identity. Another thing about character is patience. People with strong character don't rush the process. They don't cheat to get ahead. They understand that shortcuts cut character. You might move faster by cutting corners, but you will also fall harder. When your foundation is weak, the higher you go, the more dangerous it becomes. Let me also talk about humility. Humility is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking less about yourself. A person with character can win without bragging and lose without bitterness. They understand that life is a journey of learning. The moment you think you know everything is the moment you stop growing. You see, character is not something you turn on when success arrives. Character must be built before success comes, Because if you don't develop it early, success will test you in ways you are not prepared for. Money, fame, power, these things don't change people, they reveal people. Ladies and gentlemen, if you focus on building your character daily, your life will become solid. You won't be shaken by opinions. You won't be broken by failure. You won't be corrupted by success. You will stand firm because your foundation is strong, and that strength will speak louder than any title you ever hold. Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you about faith in yourself, because before anything changes on the outside, something has to change on the inside. A lot of people are waiting to see results before they believe. But it doesn't work like that. You have to believe before the results show up. Faith is not confidence after success. Faith is confidence before success. And if you don't develop that, you will quit too early every single time. See, most people don't fail because they lack ability. They fail because they stop believing in themselves when things get hard. The moment the plan doesn't work, the moment progress slows down, the moment people stop supporting them, they start doubting themselves. But let me tell you something real. Doubt is part of the journey. Every successful person you admire has doubted themselves at some point. The difference is they didn't let doubt make decisions for them. You've got to understand this. Belief fuels persistence. When you truly believe in what you're doing, you don't give up at the first sign of trouble. You keep going even when you're scared. You keep moving even when you're unsure. Faith doesn't mean you're never afraid. It means you move forward despite the fear. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's obedience in the presence of fear. A lot of people are waiting for approval before they believe in themselves. They want validation from friends, family, social media, and society. But external validation is unstable. People will clap for you one day and doubt you the next. If your belief is based on people, your confidence will collapse the moment people change. You've got to build belief that stands even when nobody is cheering. Let me be honest with you. Sometimes you will be the only one who sees the vision. Sometimes the dream will make sense to you and nobody else. That doesn't mean it's wrong. It means it was given to you. Stop expecting people to understand what God showed you. Your job is not to convince them. Your job is to work. Faith in yourself also means trusting the process. You're not going to be great overnight. You're not going to have it all figured out immediately. Growth is messy. Progress is uncomfortable. There will be seasons where it feels like you're doing everything right and nothing is happening. That's when faith matters most. If you quit in that season, you'll never see what was coming next. One of the biggest enemies of faith is comparison. The moment you start comparing your journey to someone else's, you weaken your belief. You don't know their struggle. You don't know their sacrifices. You don't know their timing. Comparison will make you feel late when you're actually right on time. Stay in your lane. Focus on your assignment. You've also got to learn how to talk to yourself differently. When things go wrong, stop saying, I can't do this. Start saying, I'm learning. Start saying, I'm not good enough. So I'm getting better. Your words shape your belief, and your belief shapes your actions. Speak to yourself with the same encouragement you'd give someone you love. Faith in yourself doesn't mean arrogance. It doesn't mean thinking you're better than others. It means trusting that you're capable of growth. It means understanding that failure is not a reflection of your worth. Failure is feedback. It's information. It's part of the process. Every setback is teaching you something if you're willing to listen. Let me say this clearly. You will fail at some point. That's not a possibility. That's a promise. But failure does not disqualify you. Quitting does. If you fall, get back up. If you mess up, adjust. If you feel weak, rest, but don't walk away. Faith is not never falling. Faith is always getting back up. You see, God will not give you a vision without also giving you the ability to grow into it. But growth takes time. Faith is you saying, it may not be there yet, but I'm on my way. And that mindset changes everything. It gives you strength on hard days. It gives you patience when progress is slow. It gives you courage when fear tries to stop you. Ladies and gentlemen, when you believe in yourself before results show up, you position yourself for breakthroughs you cannot yet see. Faith moves first, results follow later. If you hold on, keep working, and refuse to give up on yourself, life will eventually respond. Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you about growth, because real growth is uncomfortable. And that's the part most people don't want to accept. Everybody wants to grow. Everybody wants a better life, a higher level, more success. But very few people are willing to be uncomfortable long enough to earn it. Growth will challenge you. It will stretch you. It will force you to let go of old habits, old thinking, and sometimes even old relationships. And if you're not willing to face that discomfort, you will stay exactly where you are. See, comfort is the enemy of progress. The moment you get too comfortable, you stop learning, you stop pushing, and you stop improving. Nothing grows in a comfort zone. Muscles don't grow without resistance. Character doesn't grow without pressure. Strength doesn't grow without struggle. Yet we keep asking for growth while avoiding discomfort. That's not how life works. Growth begins the moment you take responsibility for your life. Not excuses, not blame, not complaining, but responsibility. As long as you keep pointing fingers at people, circumstances, and situations, you give away your power. Responsibility gives you control. It says, I may not control everything that happens to me, but I control how I respond and what I do next. That mindset alone can change your future. Let me be honest with you. Growth will require you to do things you don't feel like doing. You will have to wake up earlier, work harder, stay disciplined longer, and stay focused when distractions look more attractive than progress. There will be days you want to quit. There will be days you feel tired, unmotivated, and unsure. That doesn't mean you're failing. That means you're growing. A lot of people mistake discomfort for failure. They think because something feels hard, it must be wrong. But discomfort is often a sign that you're leaving your old self behind. When you're learning something new, it feels awkward. When you're stepping into a higher level, it feels unfamiliar. When you're becoming someone better, it feels uncomfortable. That's not a warning sign, that's a confirmation. Growth also means letting go of what's familiar. Sometimes the people, habits, and environments you're used to are the very things holding you back. And that's a hard truth to face. Not everyone can go where you're going. Not everyone will understand your changes. Some people will be uncomfortable with your growth because it reminds them of what they refuse to do. Don't let that stop you. You've got to stop running from pressure. Pressure builds capacity. Pressure reveals strength you didn't know you had. Diamonds are not formed in comfort. They're not formed under pressure. If life is pushing you, stretching you, testing you, maybe it's because something valuable is being developed inside you. Don't break under pressure. Grow through it. Growth also requires humility. You have to be willing to admit you don't know everything. You have to be willing to learn, to listen, to be corrected. Pride will block your growth faster than failure ever could. The moment you stop learning is the moment you stop growing. Stay teachable. Stay open. Stay hungry. You know a lot of growth is patience. You don't grow overnight. Transformation takes time. You will not see results immediately. And that's where most people give up. They quit too soon. They leave the process before it finishes its work. But growth is happening even when you can't see it. Just because there's no visible change yet doesn't mean there's no progress. Stay consistent long enough for the results to catch up. Let me also say this: growth demands courage. Courage to face your fears. Courage to take risks. Courage to fail and try again. Playing it safe will keep you small. Growth lives on the other side of fear. Every level you want to reach will require a version of you that you have not yet become. And becoming that person will be uncomfortable. You are not meant to stay the same. You are meant to evolve, to improve, to rise. If your life feels challenging right now, don't complain, pay attention. Something is being built. Something is being strengthened. Growth is not easy, but it is worth it. And if you accept the discomfort, take responsibility, and keep moving forward, you will look by day and realize the struggle was shaping you for something greater.